Want to take your chord progressions to the next level? Then suspended chords are the answer. Suspended chords will add tension and color to your progressions, and these chords can be found in thousands of songs. In this video, you're going to learn how to play suspended 2 and suspended 4 triads all over the fretboard. There's a very simple way to learn both the suspended 2 and 4 chords off of the standard major triad shape. Plus, I'll show you how to take these and apply them in different ways to create some very cool sounds, and I'll show you some examples of songs that use these suspended triads. Now, before we get into the video, I'd appreciate it if you could like it. It'll get it out there into the world of YouTube for people to see, and if you like the content I release each week, then I would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. All right. Let's get to it. Okay, so what are suspended chords? So in a nutshell, it's where we replace the third in the chord with either the note above it, the fourth, or the note below it in the key, in the scale, the second. Hence, we get suspended 4 or suspended 2 chords, and they're often referred to as sus chords, sus2, sus4. So if I take it just a D, standard D open chord here, the third F sharp is on the top string. If I put my pinky on the note above the F sharp, the G, got rid of the third, and it's now got the first, the fifth, and the fourth in the chord. And you can hear the suspension, hence the name, suspended chord. You want to hear it resolve back to the major. And if I take that second finger off and include the open top string, that's the E note, that's the note below the third in a D chord. Now it's suspended 2, and it's a bit of a different sound to suspended 4, but it's still that suspended sound. It doesn't have as much of a pull back towards the D, although it does resolve nicely. That's because it's a tone below the third. This fourth is only a semitone above the third. So your ear wants to hear it resolve more to D with the sus4. It tends to kind of sit nicely suspended 2. You could resolve it, but you don't have to. And you don't have to resolve suspended 4 either. But that's what a suspended chord is in a nutshell. Now let's have a look at the suspended chord all over the fretboard. I'm going to move kind of pretty quickly here, but you can come back and check all these out and work them out in your own time. Here we go. If you know your triad shapes, I'll link to a video on triads that you can check out later. But if you know your triad shapes, on each string set, it's very easy to then use that to find the sus2, sus4. So if I've got this A, we'll use A here. A major triad, open position here. If I move the third up, which is on the second string of the triad, I get a sus4. If I move it down, that's a suspended 2 and back to the triad. So you can hear that movement around the third and building the tension, releasing the tension, etc. So if I go to my next 3-2-1 A major triad, the third is now on the third string. There's the suspended 4, here's the suspended 2, back to sus4. So again, that same sound. Or if we go up to this A triad, second inversion, string 3-2-1 still, there's our suspended 4, there's our sus2, there's our A. So it's all centered around the major triad shape. Okay, if we go to string set 4-3-2, here's our root, not root position, second inversion, but here's our A, standard triad. There's the sus4, moving the third up, which is on the second string of the triad here, the second string of the guitar that is, and then sus2 back to major. Okay, and then we get to root position A. There's our sus4 with the third being on the second string of the triad, the middle string, third string of the guitar. And here it is as a sus2, moved down 2 frets and back. So only one note changes, right, each time. Here's A major, first inversion. Here's the suspended 4, suspended 2, back to A major. We get to the lower string set. So let's see, we've got A major. So the third is the lowest note in the triad here, so there it is as sus4, right there, sus2, back to the standard A triad. Second inversion, A triad, third is on the top note of the triad here, third string of the guitar, so here is sus4, back to A, and then suspended 2, back to A. Okay, and then we've got the root position A up here at the 9th position. Root position, the third is on the middle string of the triad, 4th string of the guitar, so there's the sus4, and here's the sus2, back to the root position. And root position, string set 6, 5, 4. So the third is, you just got to find the third in the chord, and then you know the note to move up. So here it is as the sus4, root position, sus2, sus4, and then here we are with the first inversion A, sus4, sus2 and 4, and then we're going to get up here to get to A second inversion. The third is the highest note in the triad, so here's the suspended 4, and there's the sus2 back to the 4. You might find you use the ones on the higher string sets a little bit more, but that doesn't mean you can't use the ones on the lower string sets. They're all just really as relevant. But I would deal with them in string sets, maybe do one string set at a time, get familiar with that a little bit first before moving to the next. And I would really learn the major triad first, because it's about connecting, you know, knowledge to previous knowledge. So if you know the triad, now we can use that knowledge to work out the suspended triads 2 and 4. Okay, so they're the shapes. Okay, so what can you do with this stuff? Well, plenty, but let's start with just a simple chord vamp. Let's say you've got someone that is going to play just like a static chord, like an A, right? While they sit on that chord, whether it's for a bar or 2 bars or more, whatever, as long as there's a little bit of time, you can move back and forth from the standard chord, A major, to suspended, to sus2, that was a sus4 up front. So you got the major, the sus4, sus2, back to the A. That will all work while someone's just sitting on the A, right? So we might play something like this, right? Just picking out a little figure there, just a little riff if you like, with some movement while someone's just sitting there on the A chord. You might have a bar to do something, you might have a little bit more of time to do it. That sounds really cool, creating movement, creating that sort of tension and releasing it. That's pretty much what it is about. So I'm going to show you, let's just hear that in a little bit more context here. If I have just the A playing there, standard static A vamp, and I play a little suspended riff, right? Sounds cool. Or you might strum it. Right? So you get the idea there. So it can sound very cool. You might also do a similar thing. I was using the 3-2-1 major and suspended triads there. I could move it down to the 4-3-2 string set and use the sus4 and sus2 triads and do a similar thing, but maybe I'll provide my own backing this time with just droning the open A string throughout, and I could do something like this. Right? So what I'm doing there is I'm just starting on the A, sus2 to sus4, and then back to the A's, just moving around in and out of the chord. So sus4, A, so A, sus2, sus4, something like that, right? So there's a couple of ideas, single chord vamps, that you can make more interesting by bringing in sus2 and sus4 chords. Okay, and another way we can use triads is just across a progression, basically, instead of a single chord vamp. So let's say we've got a chord progression. We're going to be on A for 2 bars, E for 2 bars, B minor for 2 bars, D for 2 bars. Okay, and I'm going to play around with some suspended triads here. So over the A, I'm going to play A into A sus4, back to A. Then the chord changes to E, so I'll play E, I'll also play E sus4 and E sus2. Then it will come into B minor. So I'm going to play B minor, B sus4, back to B minor. Now, a note here, suspended chords aren't major or minor, because we're getting rid of the third, which is the deciding factor in a major and minor chord. So they're a bit more ambiguous there. So if you've got a minor chord like B minor in your progression, you can play the suspended 4 there of that minor chord. And that's what I'm doing there. Then it goes to D, and I'm going to play on my D and my D suspended, and I'm just going to play D sus2 here. The reason being, my chord progression is in the key of A. If I play a D suspended 4, I might think, yeah, that's good because D is in the key of A, right? But when we suspend the 4, we put in the G. The G is not diatonic to the key of A. It would need to be G sharp to be diatonic. That's not to say it can't work, but in most cases, you might find that doesn't sound good. So off the 4 chord of a major key, if you play the suspended 4, there's a chance it's going to clash. So just be aware of that. Sometimes you won't have both suspended triads available necessarily. That's what I'm doing. That's the breakdown. Let's hear how this sounds. Let's get our chord progression up, and we'll get our A chord. We'll let it play through. There's our E, B minor, and D. So I'm going to play on top of that. Right, A, sus, E, suspended 4, and the D. Back to the A, okay? So you get an idea of how that sounds when we put it together in more of a broad sort of sense across a chord progression, in this example in the key of A. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of examples of songs that use suspended triads. So first up is Free Falling by Tom Petty. There's a line that goes like this. Right? So what's happening here? First up, you've got a chord progression that goes E, A, E, B, right? E, E, B. And that little combination of suspended chords is going on top of that, right? So this is an E major triad. No suspension there. It goes with the E chord in the song. Then it goes to A suspended 2. Which goes with the A chord. It comes back to E because it goes back to E in the guitar, in the chords, and then it goes to a B suspended 4 to go with the B chord. So we've got E, A sus2, back to E, B sus2, back to E. Okay, another example is Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. So I'm referring to the progression that starts on D major, the second progression in the song. Kind of the start of the chorus, pre-chorus, chorus, whatever you want to call it there. And it starts with a D and an A. It's just basically back and forth initially between D and A chords. Now what's happening, I think it's actually a keyboard part, but I've played it on guitar before. It's a nice addition to play with the song. So we've got a D root position triad here. And we go to an A root position triad to reflect that chord change, D to A. But then there's a little line that's being played and it goes like this. That's across the D, then the A, right? And down here again. Now, what's happening is it's almost just arpeggiating the major triad, but it steps down. So it is major triad, but it's stepping down to this suspended 2, making it a D suspended momentarily, right? Right there. So you could think of it as D major triad initially, but then we're using that sus2, or we're using the 2 to create a nice sound and give it a bit of that suspended 2 flavor. And that is the exact thing, same thing, that happens across the A, only in an open position and back up to the D again. Now after this, the rhythm goes to, the chords go to C for 2 bars, to the G, and we're back to the C and the G. So similar thing here. So here's the C major triad and same little figure there with the suspended 2, or the 2 of the chord of the key coming in. And then on the 4, it's actually the suspended 4. On the G, I should say, on the G chord, it's this little first inversion G major triad, and it's using the sus4 version here, the C note down to the B. Right, so we've got the C chord and the G before, and it does that a few times, and then it's back here. Really beautiful line. Okay, so it's a keyboard part arranged for the guitar. Sounds very cool, and as I said, you can really recognize that as part of Comfortably Numb. If you just play the standard chords, you may or may not, but that makes it more like, oh yeah, okay, now I can really pinpoint that to a specific song. And it's a great little example of how you can create a little arpeggio sort of figure from the suspended and major triad to create a really cool sound. And a third example, there are many, they're endless really, but one more is Roxanne by the Police. So it's a great example of just triads in general being used in songs, and it's using the 3-2-1 as we've been using for the other examples too. So it just starts off with the G minor, D minor, G minor, F, E flat, and then here, sus2, sus4 rather, right there, very distinctive sound. And what's happening there is, instead of just playing an F chord, it's an F suspended chord. And instead of just playing G, it's a G suspended 4 chord, okay? Very distinctive sound. So again, you've got your, just for a bit of context, G minor, F, down to E flat, and here we go, sus4 F and sus4 G, and then it's back to the G minor. Really great example of triads, but also the use of suspended 4 triads there. If you like this video, then you'll love this free workshop called Dynamic and Compelling Ways for Arranging Music to Accompany a Singer on One Guitar. In it, I teach and train effective ways to create amazing sounding arrangements for a single guitar and vocal. So whether you're someone who would like to be able to create the perfect arrangement of a song, or a singer-songwriter who would like to be able to accompany themselves on guitar, or a guitar player who would simply like to have more ways to express themselves on the instrument, then this workshop is for you. Better yet, I have an actual singer on hand throughout the workshop to demonstrate all the concepts covered so you can hear just how effective they are. Everything is put to the test. No theorizing, just practical ways to create arrangements of songs that sound amazing. Plus, you also receive a PDF booklet that complements the class, offering tools and concepts you can use, as well as worksheets for your arrangements. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free video workshop, Dynamic and Compelling Ways for Arranging Music to Accompany a Singer on One Guitar. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know what acoustic topics you'd like to see in future videos. I love to hear from you. I read as many comments as I can and reply to as many as I can. Many things that have been suggested in the past have become videos on the channel. So don't be shy. Drop us a line. I would love to hear from you. If you like the video, then give that old like button a bit of a hit. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you do enjoy the content I put out each week. Hit the notification bell button and YouTube will tell you when I've released a new video. I always very much appreciate you watching my videos. I hope you've enjoyed this one. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.